Welcome, viewers. A happy new year to all of you. Hope you all are well with your families during this COVID pandemic time by wearing mask and keeping distance with each other. Dear viewers, today our topic is pylon fracture. This is a very important topic, and our honorable speaker is Dr. Sundarajan sir, head of arthroscopy and foot and ankle, Ganga Hospital, Coimbatore, India. Sir, happy new year and welcome to our show, Orthopedic Solution Academy.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, we have two learned academic panel with us, one from Bangladesh and one from India. From Bangladesh, we have Professor Dr. Mofakharul Bari, orthopedic trauma and reconstructive surgeon and President Asami. So happy new year and welcome to our show. And
Thank
from
you.
India, we have Professor Manish Dhawan, senior consultant orthopedics, Sir Gangaram Hospital and President Asami, India.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you very much for nice introduction. Thank you.
Happy New Year and welcome you all to our show.
I am very privileged to be in Bangladeshi webinar. And thanks for calling me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with all the surgeons. Dear viewers, we have a pylon fracture today. A very complicated thing if we can't manage it. But if we can manage it, then it is not that much complicated. And our honorable speaker is Dr. Sundarajan sir. I would like to request our honorable speaker, Dr. Sundarajan sir, to start his presentation. Sir, please. Dr. Sundarajan sir, please.
Tanvir, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir, we can see your slide. The voice is loud and clear also.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I thank Tanvir and all the panel and all the viewers. And today's topic is on tibial pylon fractures. As he said, tibial pylon fracture, I think to understand the pylon fracture by definition, I think it is a metaphyseal injury extending into the ankle joint. So the pylon name is coined by Deso in 1911 because of the talus impacting tibia like a hammer striking a nail. So because of the high violence injury, 20 to 25% are open injuries, and in generally the incidence is around 7 to 10%. Yes, already we talked about because of the high violence injury, most often the axial injuries along with valgus or varus injuries like this, where the position of the foot on the impact while bending torsion or shearing forces determine the fracture pattern. In that, most common kind of injury is combined with the axial compression with the varus or the valgus side. So when you have in a valgus side, we can see the fractures are more on the lateral side, combination of the tibia and also the fibula fracture over there. And this is a varus kind of fracture. This is the most common type fracture. Sometimes it could be just a shearing force resulting in a twisting injuries. We can have like this kind of transverse fractures of the both tibia and fibula with the extension into the articular surface. When you have a combined both shearing and axial compression injuries, then you can have a more combination, more depression, and more joint destruction by the nature of the violence. So the most important here in this kind of injuries, combined injuries, the important points to remember, and also these are the one which decide the surgical fixations and outcome, depending upon the articular combination on the tibial side, talar side, and how much combination in the metaphyseal side and the fibular fracture, and the quality of the bone that makes the your choice of surgery and fixation of the implant. Sometimes the osteoporosis can play a role. And we should not forget, because these are the high valence injuries fall from the height, we should not forget to examine for the fracture in the spine and also look for the contralateral fracture of the calcaneum, tibial plateau fracture, or pelvis or acetabular fractures. So the secondary survey is very important in these kind of injuries. When you come to the classification, this is the, I think, Allgroer classification. I think all of you are aware. I'm not going to discuss about all the classification, and most of us we are aware about the AO classification, where it divided into the A1, A, B, and C, depending upon the involvement of the metaphyses and metaphyses, the articular surface extension, and with the more combination, more of articular surface is the type C3. These are the more severe form of the injury. Because there is no muscle protection, usually this kind of injury is resulting in a massive swelling and can result in early formation of the post-traumatic bulla or the blisters, and they can have hemorrhagic and clear fluid bullas or the blisters can happen. Because venous drainage is also often inadequate, leading to chronic edema and stasis ulceration can happen in the future. And most often, if the patient present late or because of the severe violence of injury, if the soft tissue tension is not maintained, and most often the present this kind of a worse situation. And also, they have to examine for the any tibial nerve, posterior tibial nerve involvement. Sometimes the patient can have the displacement of the fragment, can compress the nerve, or injury can resulting in the plantar sensation lost. Or because of the vascular injury, they can go for a compartment syndrome in the foot also. So the post-trauma surveillance is very, very important by taking X-ray of all the pelvis, the X-ray of the leg and ankle, and also contralateral ankle. Of course, the CT scan is a must in any articular surface, articular fractures nowadays, like whether around the knee or around the ankle or around the shoulder, around the elbow. So all of us are aware, any pilon fracture, better to do on a CT scan because that will give you more three-dimensional view of the fracture fragments and the displacement. That also helps you to plan for your surgical fixation and your approaches. So it's mandatory to do a CT scan in any articular surface involvement to know all the trajectory of your fractures. So how do you treat this kind of pilon fractures with the severe violence? You can do a conservative management if it is a highly undisplaced fracture like Allgrover type 1. So, and also most of the patients, if the patients, depending upon the patient's requirement, you can do an open reduction internal fixation, or we can do a modified internal fixation or minimal invasive, or external fixator in the form of Elizarov, or you can use that monolateral external fixator or the limb reconstruction system, or you can combine the internal fixation with the external fixators like a hybrid fixation. So whatever the pilon fracture, depending upon the whatever the type of the fracture, the aim of the surgical treatment should be an articular surface reconstruction. That is the most important point, part of your surgery. Restore the axial alignment is also very, very important. That means correcting the both varus and valgus, and maintain the joint stability with doing a strong fixators, whether internal fixator or an external fixator. This should be strong enough to have the joint stability. And it's important to achieve the union or also prevent the complications. If you don't have the stability, again, not only it may go for a non-union, but you can have an infection too. So it's very, very important. Whatever you consider all these factors, that is not the only motto. The most important factor is that you should try to avoid the infection and wound complication. So even though the surgical fixation comes in first, but the most important factor is joint infection and wound complications are the most dreaded complications in pilon fractures. Even though you do all these factors correctly, still the functional outcome not only depends upon the surgeon, the injury factors itself, like how bad the articular comminution is, whether the talar involvement or not, and although the soft tissue injuries can dictate the prognosis and outcome of these fractures, even though if you do an external fixator and soft tissue coverage. And also it can become worse if the patient is a smoker, or if it's a diabetic mellitus, or the patient has got any peripheral vascular disease. Still the chances of having a wound complications and the non-union are very common in these kind of patients. So it's very important when to do a surgery in these fractures. So it's important that if you try to, if you're seeing the patient earlier, that before 6 hours, it's important that you should stabilize the fracture so that reduce the soft tissue tension, and it can delay or avoid the soft tissue complications like blisters and bullas. So it's very, very important. And when to do an internal fixation, whenever the quality of the soft tissue injury to the soft tissue is minimal and good quality bone, we can do an internal fixation. And also in case of open injuries, if there is a very minimal comminution and minimal contamination, still there is internal fixation is possible. Otherwise, we can better to do an external fixator in the form of Elizarov or an joint stabilizing external fixator. But most of the situations, we may not be able to do a primary internal fixation. We will do a staged reconstruction in pilon fracture. This is more safe also. If on a surgeon when starting your career, instead of being wherever you can be an aggressive in a shoulder fracture or a knee fracture, but in the pilon fracture, make sure that you go slow do a staged reconstruction so that you avoid the complications. That is the most important, like wound complication and infection, which I talked earlier. So staged reconstruction is primarily indicated, especially when there is a complex fracture, whenever there is a severe soft tissue injuries. Do the joint stabilizing external fixator in the or an Elizarov, and delay the internal fixation. If you want to do internal fixation, better delay it for 7 to 21 days till the soft tissue heals and the ankle becomes quiet. That is the most important factor in this case. And also, what I mean by external fixator is like any monolateral external fixator, limb reconstruction system, or an Elizarov, and also should be considered whenever there is a severe impaction with the combination of the articular surface, poor bone quality, and if there is a severe soft tissue damage, I think you should avoid the internal fixation. So to minimize the complications, because I keep on telling the same points again and again, because that is the reality in pilon fracture, soft tissue complications and the wound lesions and infections. Of course, when there is an open injuries, you should we can do an external fixators. So what kind of external fixator can be used? I think mostly that you have recommended the A type of frames also helps you to do have the good stability of the external of the pilon fracture. Of course, you have an Elizarov. This is a just case example of 33 years old male patient had a fall from a height with a severe soft tissue damage in the anterior spinal ankle. Of course, there is no compartment syndrome, but when you see here, this kind of more of shearing injury in this case, even though it's a fall from height axial with could be a shearing force, you can see the transverse fracture of the fibula, and also there is a severe comminution and involving up to the articular surface. In this case, considering the soft tissue damage because of the blisters and patient worried about the skin issue and wound infection, he was just stabilized with the limb reconstruction system with joint diastasis. It is very important to keep the joint in distraction till the fracture consolidate. Otherwise, this can get collapse and can go for arthritic changes very quickly. So the distraction not only helps you to the articular surface to get into the position, and it can allows the joint, prevents the joint collapse and secondary osteoarthritis. So sometimes this can heal, but even the patient has got a good result. But if you don't do any reconstruct the articular surface, you can see the joint opening. So this patient chance of getting arthritis in the future is very high. Or we can do an even hybrid fixation in the form of where you do an indirect reduction, do a minimal fixation with the screw fixation to reconstruct the articular surface. So this is the important point which I have to emphasize on this, so that it can minimize the incidence of arthritis. So you can do a limited anterior approach, do an articular reduction, fix with the screws. Then your metaphyseal fractures can be stabilized with any Elizarov rings or an external fixator, or a monolateral external fixator, or a limb reconstruction system. Because this is the case which was done almost 15 years before. I mean, we don't do it now. Sometimes when there is a very severe soft tissue damage, this is a typical valgus injury. You can see the combination. You see the fibula fracture. There is a valgus injury. But at that time, considering the soft tissue damage, initially was stabilized only with the stabilized with the K wires. But luckily, this patient had a good healing and had a good outcome. But however, I think we should try to avoid this kind of fixation. Better to have a better stability. If the soft tissue permits, we should get a better stability. However, as I already said, the complications of the wound and infections are the most important factor which you have to consider. So that fixations should be decided according to the individual. Each patient has to decide about depending upon the soft tissue damage, soft tissue problem. So when do you do an open reduction and internal fixation? Whenever there is a significant displacement where you cannot maintain with just external fixator alone, and there is no much combination, if the good bone quality, of course, the soft tissue permits, we can do an internal fixation. And it is important that you have to have a proper patient selection, and the timing of surgery is very, very important. As I already said, that if patient present you after 6 hours, if you do an open reduction and put a plate, the chance of getting skin complications are very, very high. So infection or wound failure is the worse than arthritis and malunion, which we have to keep it in mind when you treat a pilon fracture. That's why we emphasize on each patients are different, each injury is different. So you have to individualize the treatment according to the patient fracture pattern, bone quality, comorbidity. That is very, very important. So, and also when you do a surgical reconstruction, the reconstruction of the fibula helps you to have the proper length, so that allows the key to the reduction of the tibial articular surface. When you maintain the fibular length, then you know that your articular reconstruction is easier, so that we can maintain the same height. If there is a severe comminution, then sometimes we can do a reconstruction of the articular surface first, then you can do a fibular fixation also. So what kind of approaches you do? So most often when you have valgus injuries or other shearing type along with the fibula fracture, you may need to do a dual approach, because you are going to fix the fibula and at the same time you want to fix the tibia. So most often we have an anterior approach or anteromedial approach, where you have a 1 centimeter lateral to the tibial crust. When you start here, that fibular incision can be taken somewhere posteriorly. So posterolateral incision for the fibula and midline anterior approach, or anteromedial or anterolateral approach, anteromedial approach helps you, so that you can have enough distance between this incision, so that can prevent that wound complication, skin necrosis. And whenever they see an X-ray like this, because CT scan is a must, as already we discussed, sometimes you can have a depressed fractures like this. So it's very important to identify this depressed fracture. When you do the fixation, you can elevate the depressed fragment, bring it down, then you fix with the cancellous screws or cortical screws for that depressed fragment. Then you reconstruct the metaphyseal fragment with the plates. So that is very important. The depressed fracture has to be elevated. Very, very important. This is another patient, of 40 years old male patient. And this patient had an valgus injury, as you know, compartment syndrome. You can see that CT scan shows that deformity, comminution. You can see that metaphyseal fragment gone inside the joint. Here and again, we can reduce the joint surface by the depressed fragment was elevated and brought back, and so that articular surface is maintained. So sometimes the rafting screws prevents the joint, that surface, that fragment collapse again. Then you stabilize with other screws and plates. These patients again have a very good result. This is again, you can see another case where you have a metaphyseal comminution, but decent articular surface over here. But you can see this is a separate fragment in the anterolateral side. So here you need to put when you do a plating. This case we did a plating. So when you decide to do a plating, we should see the valgus injury or the varus injury. When there is a valgus injury, you can see that the fragment is more on the anterolateral side. So here we require the anterolateral plate. So we know that AO and other companies has got a designed AO lateral plates. So that helps you to put the fragment back, and the valgus is corrected, axial alignment is corrected, and also the joint is articular joint surface is better. So here basically your aim is to get that axial alignment under the proper reduction. So here the posterolateral approach, fibula was fixed, and the midline approach and the plate was applied for the anterolateral fragment. That was the healing with a good functional outcome. Again, you can see here, this fracture is more on the medial side. You get this varus injury, but is extending up to the tibial shaft level. Here, the plate was applied on the medial side, so that to support that up to the metaphyseal fracture, and then fibula was fixed through the lateral approach and went on to heal very well. So this is another case of stage reconstruction. It's a diabetic patient, road traffic accident again. You can see here not only that your metaphyseal fracture of the tibia, you can see the talus fracture too. It extending up to the talus, and you can see that CT scan gives you the geometry of the talus fracture. Here, not only you fix the tibial articular surface, and you should fix the talus fracture here, and you can see that that is a picture of the final picture of that patient with good outcome. When you come to the open injuries, again I said around 20 to 25% of the pilon fractures are open injuries. This is a grade 3 open injury. You can see that it's a valgus type of injury, severe comminution, varus type of injury with severe comminution, where here we did a primary internal fixation. because of the young patient, good bone quality, not much contamination. This patient also had a skin cover later on, where we did an anterolateral plate. This patient had a very good healing, but it doesn't happen all the time. So even though this patient has got a good functional outcome with the skin grafting and the primary internal fixation, I will come to the next case. That is the working of that patient. Sorry, video is not running. This is another open injury. You can see that it's on a medial sided open injury. Severe soft tissue loss. These patients required a soft tissue coverage as a cover. But you see the fracture pattern is very badly comminuted. You can see the distal articular surface of the tibia completely displaced and completely devastated, and also see the talus fracture. It's almost from the body level of the fracture, completely displaced. Here are two options: whether you have to remove all these pieces because it's a severe open injury, we can remove all the fragments or put on an external fixator. But it is important that these cases, even though this soft tissue injuries and open injuries is bigger, we should try to, if there is a contamination is minimal, then we should try to fix the fracture, because it's important. We know that we cannot save the joint most of the time when there is an open injury, when a bad distal articular surface fracture, but still you fix the talus so that you get that bone quantity. That is very important. Maintain the height of the heel. That helps you to maintain propulsion of your normal walking. It is important to have the bone stock. So because it's open fracture, we should not remove all the dislocated bones. So even though this patient required the soft tissue coverage, initially stabilized with the external fixator, as we expected, the joint has gone for complete arthritic, later on required a fusion. But however, whenever you maintain the talus, so that helps you to help the get the height of the heel. That's very important. So what is the rate of arthrodesis in these pilon fractures? As you see, in type 3 Allgrover type, Rudy and Allgrover type, around 26% patients will go for arthrodesis in the future. So that has to be counseled to the patient. Whenever you see a type 3 Allgrover with the distal comminution, we should expect that this patient can go for an arthrodesis in the future, which has to be explained. And I'm not going into the much literature, just I want to quote one series of comparison of open reduction with the external fixator like Elizero or the limb reconstruction systems. There is no difference in clinical scores, but however, we should note that point, that increased frequency or severity of complications are in open reduction and internal fixation group. I think so. It's very, very important that do a minimal fixation, respect the soft tissues, expect the wound complications. That is the most important factor here, because whether you treat with external fixators like Elizero or other fixators, it doesn't make a huge difference when you do an internal fixator. So it is important that most important priority in pilon fracture is the soft tissue. Just I will complete with the 2-3 delayed presentation cases. This is the one case where presented a 23 years old male patient had injury 5 months before and treated conservatively somewhere else, and he came with widening of the heel, like what you see from the posterior aspect, and fullness over there. And he had a very painful walk. You see the ankle, there is no movement in the ankle, just only toes are moving, but reasonable subtalar movement. But ankle, absolutely there is no movement at all. This is a 5 months old injury. He is a very young patient. You can see he is around 20 or 21 years old, I'm not sure. And you see the walking, he has got an antalgic gait, very severely restricted activities. When you see an X-ray, you may think that, okay, this X-ray may not show that much bad. Looks like almost okay, but you can see the very badly comminuted fracture. This patient also had some calcaneal fracture. But when you do a CT scan, then you know that how bad that fracture, how badly it's malunited. And you can see the severely, there is a big fragment, almost 30 to 40% of the articular surface gone inside. So it's a severely depressed fracture, which was treated conservatively, which we should not. We should have reduced the fracture on the day one. That was very easy to reduce and fix it up. This is now 5 months old, impacted depressed fractures, widened tibial articular surface, So how do you manage this case? It's important these cases as to, because he's considering his age, what kind of, even if you do a disimpaction, what kind of fixations can be used, that is a cushion. It is not easy when you do on a 5 months old metaphyseal impacted fractures, because it is very, very difficult to even identify the depressed fragment. You can see that is the talus. You can see how badly the articular surface is in changing in the directions over there. Here, under the guidance of image control, we could you could point out the depressed fragment, marked out, and with the help of the osteotome, we can see that the whole fragment was osteotomized. We separated the medial malleolus first, then that over the depressed fragment, we made a curved osteotome, like a dome osteotomy. Just we did a osteotomy over there. You can see the curved osteotome. We brought back that articular depressed fragment into the original position, and the remaining surface was fixed with the tricortical iliac crust. You can see that is the big tricortical iliac crust graft, which was impacted on that fracture, and that gap which was created because of the disimpaction, and it was stabilized with the anterolateral plate, and also the medial side is fixed with the just buttress plate for that fragment which we separated to get that osteotomy site. So this patient went on to heal very well, and his functional improvement, you can see the articular surface, even though you see a slight gap here, but you see that remaining articular surface is intact. So that is the normal stand, and you can see the patient was walking a lot better without any pain. So this kind of late presentation, still it's possible that you can go back and readdress that in disimpacted cases, and you can see there is a good range of ankle movements. At least some ankle movements are there compared to the pre-op. There is no ankle movement at all before surgery. And this is another patient of 6 weeks old fracture, and came late, but you can see the fracture, and also he had a wound over the medial malleolus around 1 centimeter. And you can see that articular surface is very badly damaged. The joint is almost dislocated. So this is the case which presented 6 weeks later, wound over the medial aspect, diabetic patient, and also he had some sense of arthropathy, sensory neuropathy. So how to proceed in these cases? What kind of fixation to use, or you can use an Elizarov, you can use a hybrid fixations, or do an open attachment fixation. Here we did a minimal internal fixation, as I did a hybrid fixation with a type of external fixator. We had used the only wires at the time, but you can see that because of the combination, that fracture surfaces had been collapsed a bit, but still they healed well. Sometimes when you see these kind of X-rays, the X-ray may be very alarming. You can see that it's very, very alarming, but still the recent articular surface is still maintained over there. So sometimes even the X-ray shows arthritic changes. Patient may survive this arthritis for quite long time without symptomatic. So it's very important to do a reconstruction of the articular surface, even in the present very late. You can see this patient after 1.5 years follow-up is walking very well without any pain. This is the last case of 31 years old male patient. He came after 2 years. This patient had an injury 2 years before and treated in a local hospital where they did an open attachment internal fixation. Later on, they removed the implant because of the mild infection. You can see that this is the disaster situation. But unfortunately, when these kind of situations, it is not possible for us to save the joint and other than the fusion. So these patients require the TTC fusion. It went on to heal very well. This is a 6 months follow-up. We can see these patients walk. That is very important. When you have, so you should not worry about doing the fusion later. You should not worry about counseling the patient. You can see the walking. It's very difficult to identify which ankle was fused to the TTC nailing. So if you maintain the heel height, that is the advantage when you do the having the heel height. These patients usually they walk very well with the help of the midfoot. So the midfoot has got around 20 to 30 degrees of movement. So we should not tell the patient that you will be very stiff after doing a fusion. So they will have some mobility in the midfoot and they will be able to walk very well. So the prognosis in pylon fracture depends not only with the surgeon's hand, it also a lot of factors which dictates the prognosis, like a talar injury or how bad that comminuted articular surface, how bad the soft tissue injury, how bad is the quality of the bone, and of course, when you do a poor reduction or unstable fixation, that's going to get worse, and of course, the wound infection is going to have a worse prognosis. So take home message is make sure that the timing of operation is very, very important. So you have to decide depending upon the soft tissue. That is the very, very important. When you do a fixation, make sure that you do a properly handling the soft tissues. Of course, this is one of the fracture which needs a good surgical expertise. So you need some experience to handle these fractures and also to know to tell the outcome and prognosis to the patient and the relatives. Very, very important. I think choice of implant is very critical, whether do an internal fixator or an external fixator like Elizero or on a limb reinforcement system. It's very, very important to prevent the wound complications and the infection. And choose the proper patient for internal infection. That is the most important factor. So infection or wound failure is worse than the arthritis or malunion, which I want to emphasize again. And don't forget these kind of pictures which you can encounter when you do an internal fixator, which you have to keep it in mind. Thank you very much.
And I would like to thank Dr. Sundarajan sir, as because of when we started our program, that is Orthopedic Solution Academy, a completely academic program. I just request to Dr. Sundarajan sir about foot and ankle, and he gave his consent, and he continued 5 programs with us. So I'd like to give him thanks from the core of our heart, and I would like to dedicate something in this 2021, in this new year, to our honorable speaker, Dr. Sundarajan sir. Studio, please play.
Thank you, Tanveer, for the wonderful Facebook photos.
Yes, you're most welcome, sir. You're most welcome.
I mean, it was a great pleasure and honor for me. I mean, to have these 5 programs. Hope later on we can do some more program in the later year. So I thank you and all the faculty involving in this program and all the viewers for listening to my talks. Thank you very much. I hope it will be useful for your future practice too.
Definitely, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. And now I would like to request our honorable academic panel to share their knowledge regarding the presentation. I would like to request Professor Manish Dhawan sir first to share his knowledge regarding this presentation. Professor Manish Dhawan sir.
Thank you very much, and I really sorry. I'm unmute now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loudly and clearly.
Yeah. First of all, I thank Dr. Sundarajan to on presenting such an excellent, it was excellent presentation, and he has covered mostly everything for in case of pylon fracture. But in my situation when I get them, so low velocity pylon fractures I treat with internal fixation. But the role of Ilizarov is a very important role of Ilizarov is there in pylon fractures in a high velocity type, where there is lot of comminution, shattering of bone fragments. So my way to do it is that I first fix the fibula with a Ilizarov wire. So I do a closed, I put a, I like what we do in closed nailing. I put a wire through the tip of lateral malleolus into the fibula to align it, and my half of the job is done. Then I put my Ilizarov frame. It's basically a 3-ring frame, and also a 5/8 ring I use in the calcaneum. Once I put the upper frame and the lower 5/8 ring, I give traction, and then I apply my frame. Now, it is very important to fix to make the articular surface. So I usually use a 3 mm K wire as a joystick and try to make my joint and the articular surface. I also use if the fragments are totally reduced and fragments are big, I also use cannulated screws to fix them. And if I'm not able to put cannulated screw, I put olive wires and fix that thing. Rarely I do bone grafting. There are few situations then when I have to make a small incision and do the open reduction of the fragments and then apply the frame. Bone grafting I have done very rarely, but yes, sometimes it might be used, but usually it is not required. So this is my way of doing it, and also the Ilizarov frame is also very helpful in compound injuries. Very helpful. So I think Dr. Bari must throw some light because he is an Ilizarov expert, and he is also professor from the Kurgan. He is a honored professor from Kurgan. So I think Dr. Bari should throw some light.
Please, Professor Bari, sir, please.
If you allow me, I can show you a little bit, 1 or 2 slides. You have time? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can please, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Sundarajan for beautifully explained everything regarding the pylon fracture, which is a very much complicated for orthopedic surgeons, even the trauma surgeons, especially the pylon and the tibial plateau fracture. And whenever patient is diabetic, any patient diabetic with pylon fracture, I never go for internal fixation. What I've seen in Kurgan, they have ankle and foot. A lot of foreigners are going there, British, American, Korean, Japanese. They never put any internal fixation. And especially for the diabetic patient, I always go for external fixation. Ilizarov under Siam control, I can control myself. And the complicated cases that was shown by Dr. Sundarajan, you beautifully explained and beautifully have shown how to put the internal fixation. And whenever you are putting the internal fixation, you could not mention, rather I will be glad if you can say, after putting the internal fixation, whatever the complications rate regarding the Skin's law or the skin of the superficial or deep complications after the fixation of internally the pylon fractures. Percentage I don't know in your case. And regarding the any type of Algo or Ludi classification, you must go for. So nicely you should have fixed the fragments, especially the comminuted fractures. The comminuted, lot of complications. If you see in the lower 1/3 of the tibia, if you open up, that you are doing a massacre. If you put the Ilizarov only with biocompatible thin wires, I always use 1.8 or 2 mm with olive wires if you go for arthrodiastasis, very nicely you can align all the fragments, and that gives a very good outcome. And regarding the late cases, late open cases, you have shown nicely. I agree with you, but this Elizarov wires, Elizarov, we should have to know the principle and the philosophy of the Elizarov, not that the putting the only wires. Even then, if you put the wires, drilling, whenever you are drilling with 1.5, 1.8 or 2 mm, you are increasing circulation rather putting the big shunts or other things. I never use the hybrid, only the biocompatible thin wires. Of course, you have your choice. Whatever you like, you can do. But I myself feel I always do. When I was the resident and after a young surgeon, then I did a lot of cases with, screws and plates, everything. But whenever Elizarov is in my hand, I feel very much comfort because I can control the infection and at the same time I can get good alignment and good consolidation. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to share you see this case. So, see this case. Now you can see this one.
Yes, sir. We can see you, sir.
See,
you can see the slide.
Look at the left side. Sir, how to put the olive wires? Only for maintaining the alignment, I put the guide wire in the fibula, and then look at the lateral view and oblique view. Next. Now you can see severely comminuted this one, left side, and this is after reduction, and this is after final follow-up, you can see. The second case, you can see, look at this 50 years old male patient, Rudi Algoat type 3. You can see the CT scan here in the right ankle. Now, look, the olive wires, you can see here, I have reduced, and you can go for arthrodiastasis to increase the joint space. And this is, you see, before, and this is after. See the lateral view and AP view, good alignment, good reduction. There's a translation is also before surgery, and there is no translation here. So I would like to thank Dr. Sundarajan for his beautiful case presentation, deliberation, and of course I have learned. I always try to learn from the others, even from the juniors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, please.
Dr. Sundarajan, you had shown so many nicely done cases for neglected pylon fractures, means the surgery which has been like 2 years. And is it not because you have shown good fixation, but actually I personally feel that when the joint is too much destroyed and time has passed, is it not better to go in for arthrodesis at the first instance rather than reconstructing a joint, and because we do not know whether this joint will be painful for the patient because painful ankle after surgery is very bad. What are your opinion about it? We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Tanveer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I showed, 3 cases which with the different scenarios. As I said, in the first case, he was a very young patient. He's around 20 years old patient with severe functional disability, but his reasonably articular surface is maintained. Even though he has 30 to 40% of the articular surface has gone inside, his bone quality is very, very good. That's why when you see on young patients in malunited fracture, whether it's a pylon fracture, even in the ankle fractures, we know that the whole world is trying to preserve the joint as much as possible. Of course, the different scenario, the same patients had a very bad articular surface damage. Then there is no point that we can preserve the joint directly, can go for an arthrodesis. So whenever is possible, I mean, I'm saying only it's possible. So when you can go inside also, you can decide if the articular surface is already damaged, we can go for the fusion. And other point is, as I said, I showed the third case where the completely the articular surface is destroyed. So we did a fusion, TTC fusion. So it is an individualized treatment, even the late presentation. So I don't agree for all the cases to fix also, all the cases to fuse also. That's why I told first case is to do the fixation, do the big osteotomy. You know, even though we don't do it very commonly, because that case has got a good, excellent result. I showed that case. So it is not very common to do that case, that kind of situation. Very few cases where you could be able to do the revision fixation like that in a 5 months old fracture. But many times, as you suggested, many times the articular surface is very badly damaged. If the patients are a little bit old or comorbidity factors with the distal articular surface damage, I agree that I also do only directly fusion, especially in the diabetic with sensory neuropathy and all that kind of patients. I agree that we will go for fusion. Another point in young patient, which why I suggest that if possible to do a revision fixation is, even though sometimes the X-ray may look bad if whatever you do a reconstruction, that even though the X-ray shows some arthritic changes, patient can survive that arthritis without symptoms for quite long time. So let him enjoy that painless ankle for the movements for quite some time. Then later on we can do a fusion at any time. So that's why I suggested individualize the treatment, even the late presentation.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
See, my technique, I also salvage the ankles in neglected cases, but my technique is that the benefit, I always use Ilizarov for neglected cases because the benefit is that I can do orthodiastasis, so I can distract the joint. And, you know, with distraction, you know, I can open up the joint. So, in these cases, I always open the ankle. With a small incision, always open the ankle, do the osteotomy of the pieces, apply Ilizarov frame, put the fragments with olive wires, reconstruct it. And once I have done it, then I distract the calcaneum and I open up the joint by 3 to 4 millimeters so that, you know, the functional mobility comes. So sometimes in very few cases, if fibula is malunited, I also osteotomize the fibula and then put a intramedullary wire, and then because sometimes the fibula hinders in neglected cases, it causes problem. So I just make a small nick, do a osteotomy of fibula, which I do oblique osteotomy. So it can slide over it, and I always open the neglected ankles and try to salvage it. So this is my technique for doing it. I think Professor Bari will throw some light on that in neglected cases. Dr. Bari.
Yes, neglected cases, and especially it depends on how much the case is neglected, and is there any wound, or patient is diabetic or not. And these are the neglected cases. Severely, there is Algor type 3, open, diabetic, I always go for arthrodesis by Ilizarov. This is my, and I have done a lot of cases, I have a series of cases with these neglected cases. So, and in my country, you know, you are getting a lot of neglected cases. Even then, not neglected, post-operative cases, failed cases with internal fixation, coming with after the fixation of the internal plates and screws and others, neglected cases. And sometimes I go for this arthrodesis of the triple arthrodesis or subtalar arthrodesis. It depends on what type of case is this, okay? So regarding the pylon fracture, it is very much crucial for the orthopedic surgeons. So that's why my suggestion, what Shuddharajan told, yes, internal and external. And he repeatedly uttered the Ilizarov external fixation, although he is not doing Ilizarov. but outcome of the Ilizarov with biocompatible thin wires is very good in case of pylon fractures. Thank you very much.
Can I
Thank
have
you, sir.
can I have two comments?
Yes, sir, definitely.
See, when I put cannulated screws, when I reconstruct the joint with cannulated screws, one benefit is that I can put an extra wire through the hole of the cannulated screw, so that you can put an extra wire through that hole. And secondly, the comment is that in diabetics you have to be very careful when you apply Iluzarov, because you have to require a very, very high control of blood sugar. So that is very important. So be very careful on applying Iluzarov in people who are diabetic, control it and then venture into that. And sometimes what Dr. Sundarajan has told, that smoking is not good in very highly comminuted fractures, because it might cause delayed union and problem in union. So these are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, all the honorable faculties and our speakers, for being with us. Now, I would like to request our honorable speaker, Dr. Sundarajan sir, to say last few words. As because of, though it is the starting of 2021, but it is the ending of Dr. Sundarajan sir presentation today. He gave us 5 episodes and his valuable times, so that we are very much grateful to our honorable speaker, Dr. Sundarajan sir. Sir, I would like to request to say something about our program and about our organization, the Orthopedic Solution Academy. Dr. Sundarajan sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvir. As already suggested, told, it was a great honor for me to present these 5 talks. And also, it's a good that you had 2 expert panel from the same topic, so that I'm not an Elizaro surgeon, but I know that I learned a few points through the Manish and your surgeon, so that I can have some knowledge, and also viewers will have different ideas, because everybody is not all of us not having this same surgical expertise. I may be good in internal fixator with hybrid fixation, but Manish and SR is doing an Elizaro. So it's viewers can choose that. If they are a trained Elizaro surgeon, they can do an excellent Elizaro work, or they can, if they're not, then they can choose this kind of fixation with the careful indication of the patient selection. That is also very, very important. So for all the 5 talks, I think I also learned from the expert panel. So that was a good idea, that to have a 2 expert panel to discuss and get an extra overview of that particular topic. So I congratulate you, Tanvir, for doing these programs, and I wish all the viewers and you and all Bangladesh friends for the Happy New Year of 2021, for your healthy and prosperous New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Sundarajan sir. Thank you, Dr. Manish sir, and thank you, Dr. Paris sir, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year to
Happy New Year to everybody. 221. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye, everyone. Dear viewers,
Bye-bye.
please stay with us. Stay tuned with Raj TV, and I would like to thank Renata Pharmaceuticals Limited for sponsoring this program, and definitely Raj TV for helping us to do this sort of programs. So,
And we thank you.
stay safe, and till then, bye-bye. Bye. Happy New Year.
You are watching Raj TV, Jagorone, Bangladesh. Please subscribe